What's up, everybody? Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with a kind of different episode on Elite Dangerous-ish. Clearly this is not Elite Dangerous. So what I'm going to be doing this episode is basically it was kind of our episode 200 kind of thing, our big milestone, if you will, in the series. And so what I'm gonna basically be doing is highlighting kind of, I guess you could consider it a top 10 greatest moments, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's not really, kind of just mostly hallmark, memorable moments that we've had throughout the series. A couple of them were suggested via the comments on my last episode from different users. Most of them were ones that I took the same idea and just kind of rolled with it and decided to pick certain ones. Mainly episodes where there's some big milestone thing that was a wow moment kind of thing. But I kind of got the idea from it was a long time ago, but it was an old episode on E200's Let's Play for Minecraft, and he did one where it was some big, either episode 100 or something like that, where he went back and kind of not really reviewed or critiqued, but kind of just went back over his old stuff kind of thing. So I thought it might be interesting as I didn't want to do just a standard Let's Play episode for a milestone like 200. So I thought this would be kind of cool, doing a trip down memory lane kind of thing at some of the most pivotal or important or, surprising or funny. So quite a few of them were funny when I ran across different names and things like that. So let's get into it with the first one. Come on. There we go. Alright, now let's see if we can... Ooh. A little dizzy. A little nausea-inducing. We're okay. We're okay. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Stay on target. Stay on target. Oh, that was... okay. You ain't no law. No, I'm a bounty hunter. I'm not the law. This is not good. I don't know who these other ships are, but I wouldn't mind it if they were federal. Come on, come on, come on. Get off me. Oh, and don't ask what these tactics are that I'm doing, because I have no idea. I don't even know if you can call them tactics or not. Come on. Yeah. Get distracted. Get distracted. That's right. Oh, he's not distracted enough. Okay. We got this. We got this. Power of positive thinking, right? Tell you what. Let's put more power into shields till our shields come back online. I'm gonna run into him. Nope. Whoa. I want last hit. Come on. Yes!
Target
what?
Scan detected.
What? 24,000 credits. That was the dumbest thing I have ever done in my life. Whew! Thank you, federal security, guys. You're so pretty. I love you. Alright, so that was the first one, which I dubbed Clipper Fight from episode 2. This was actually suggested by Game Spirit, and it really was an interesting situation. And one thing I should have probably prefaced with is, the quality of my videos was a lot worse when I first started some of this stuff, so like my microphone was different, and it was a lot more crackly and didn't have quite the same noise effects and filters and things on it like I edit with now. But also, I was just a lot worse at the game, to be honest. There's quite a few moments in that fight where I was actually yelling at myself, kind of like, not managing your power correctly, that you should be into shields if you're taking hits, weapons if you're firing engines, if you're flying around, stuff like that. There's quite a few errors that I see now when I go back and look at it. I was like, oh my gosh, I was doing so horrible. But the funny parts of that episode was twofold to me. One is that I didn't decide to leave. It was just like, I interdicted them, but it never occurred to me, put your hard points away and run and jump out of there. No, that was before that was an option, apparently. But it really was just very coincidental timing that the feds showed up and actually saved my bacon there on that one. And the other really funny thing to that, now, some of the things going back through these old episodes, some of the things I encountered was balancing and updates that they've done to the game, such as the weapon damage, the credit payouts, the difficulty of AIs, etc., and so on. So there is some very big moments where I was like, huh? But it was like that, being very blown away by 24,000 credits at the very end is like, I don't remember what the payouts used to be like, but now clippers and stuff, you should be getting a lot more than that. Normally, I mean, typically. And for me to get that excited about it could have been twofold. It could have just been that I wasn't really that far along. I was only in a Viper at the time, so it could have still meant a lot. But in practicality and all truthfulness kind of thing, it's more than likely something that got changed in the balancing of the game. But it is a really funny part, because it gave me such problems. Now, it would be kind of fun to go back with the same kind of ship and see pilot skill-wise, if it would be any easier for me to take it down now, or is it actually because I'm used to rolling in higher ships, so bigger ships like clippers and stuff don't intimidate me really anymore. But yeah, I was going back and watching it, I was like, man, why didn't I just book it? Like, why didn't I just run? And it just never even came up, kind of thing. So I thought that one was a pretty funny one. Seriously? Robin Hood. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? Robin Hood. We found Robin Hood. That is probably the most epic thing I've ever seen in my life. If he has a bounty, I totally am killing him. Okay, so this one really needs no introduction. There's a couple of these on here, because I got such a kick out of some of the names that came up for the AI characters. Robin Hood's just great. It was one of those that, of all the names to go with, especially in a game about trading where you can be a pirate, you can black market smuggle stuff, things like that. I really was surprised that he didn't have a bounty or something. That would have been hilarious. Actually, technically, if you're eagle-eyed, he does have a bounty, but it wasn't in that system. So, but yeah, the name was really funny. There was actually another episode further in the series where the episode title was I Shot Down Robin Hood or something like that. I scrubbed through that whole episode. I could not find the reference that was being made there. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, I guess, because I wouldn't have put it on there if it wasn't right. But I couldn't find it anywhere. I thought about using that one, but like I said, it just never came up in the thing, so I just went with it. There was also another one that I was trying to find, and I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure if it was in one of my live streams or something like that, and it didn't. I thought I uploaded it as an episode with a title, but there was one that I swear that we shot down Etho. And it wasn't ethos or something like that. It was ETHO, and I thought that was hysterical. Now, grant you, if my memory serves, etho is actually a word that, I forget what it actually means, but it is not technically a proper noun, and the YouTuber is Ethos Lab, and blah, blah, blah. You can split hairs. But I thought it was really funny that Etho showed up in a game, and that I shot him down. I thought that was hilarious. But I couldn't find that one anywhere. I couldn't even find an episode title with Etho in it, so it must have been in one of the streams or something. I can't remember. But so I went with Robin Hood. There's a couple other funny names in this episode too, of throwbacks to finding something really funny. But I like this one on its own. All right, this one's got full or almost full shields. A third of its shields. I do love not having to worry about like ammo and stuff, and when I get back I just have to pay for fuel. I don't even have to pay for like ammo or shield boosters or anything. Woo! That was the other thing. Somebody in the comments mentioned learning circle strafing, and I was like, yes, I've seen many people do it on YouTube and stuff. I am not that good at it. I need to figure out how to be. Because I've seen some people just wreck other ships and stuff just because they can just circle strafe around them and just constantly hit them. It's pretty amazing. Actually, I'm not 100% positive that I'm doing it right, but I think I'm doing it right now. Where you're pushing your thruster to the strafing side and then holding your flap so that you're going to the... like, push the thruster to the right, or no, to the left, and then you're holding your left fin so that you kind of turn as you're strafing. I don't know if I'm doing it right, but it's working. I mean, I'm keeping him in my line of sight, and he's having a hard time hitting me, so... I mean, we pretty much just took out an anaconda while it was almost full shield, so... and we barely even broke a sweat, so I'm liking that tactic. Alright, so this one was a suggestion, well, not this particular episode, but the idea was a suggestion by a viewer named Michael Kanzler. I really hope I'm saying that correctly, if not, my bad. But it was basically talking about the combat episodes and going up against bigger ships and anacondas and stuff like that, as well as, what I would dub the vulture days kind of thing. Because honestly, as much as I like the bigger ships and you're always trying to get the bigger, badder, you know, the anacondas and the corvettes and the cutters and all that kind of stuff, I like the vulture. I really think it's one of those ships that for... like, get it as soon as you can if you're starting out kind of thing and you're interested in combat. It's a tough little ship. Now, again, I've taken out AI vultures fairly easily with some of the newer ones, so I don't know how well they would hold up against a one-on-one in like a PvP type environment with two skilled pilots kind of thing. I don't know how much pilot skill versus AI and stuff like that comes into play, but against the AI, that vulture was... Now, again, I have to cite this, though, that back when I used it, it wasn't the current game that it is today. They've done patches, they've done balancing to where weapons and damage and stuff are different. So with that in mind, I don't know. It may not hold up as well as it did, but back in the day when I used the vulture, it was hard for me to trade up from that ship because it was a little powerhouse that... it didn't have the best maneuverability, but it had ridiculous shields, especially when you upgraded it, especially when you like put good shields on it and stuff like that. It was a tank, and because it was small, but it had two larger hard points, as you can see in the video there, or the clip. You know, even pulse lasers, the two large pulse lasers did work. I mean, they pack some heat to them. So I love that little ship. I believe I upgraded to the Clipper from the Vulture, and honestly, I love the Clipper in terms of aesthetic design, but in terms of actually using it as a fighting combat ship, I almost think the Vulture was a better ship because the Clipper I didn't keep very long because of its shield. Somebody explained it to me one time, but it's basically like shield ratio. Like the shape of the ship determines the shape of your shields, which determines how strong they are and what weak point. I don't remember all the science behind it, but essentially the Vulture had really tough shields, and the Clipper did not. So although it had more firepower and it was a bigger ship, the Vulture, it was a little firecracker. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the Vulture. It was a nice... kind of reminded me of, like, some kind of, I don't know, like a warthog or something, where at first you're like, it's just a pig, and then it, like, bulldozes you because it's all muscle kind of thing. One of those types of things where you underestimate it because it's a small little ship, and then it buzzes around you and just beats the snot out of you while you're not paying attention kind of thing, which kind of is what happened in this scenario here. I forget exactly what all was going on in this episode. I think I was in a conflict zone. And yeah, like I said in the video, or at the clip, that I think I included that part where, I mentioned that basically I wasn't even having to really work that hard at taking down bigger ships and things. So, I love that little booger. Somebody else is scanning me. As long as they're not, like, part of the Anaconda, I don't really care. I really shouldn't be doing this. This might not be smart. Oh, wow. Just, wow. I just gotta watch my shields and make sure that I don't end up falling prey to the same problem. Because I gotta remember, I've lost like 40% of my shield strength now. Good lord, though. At the intensity of these beams. I really don't like having fixed weapons. I really want to get through their hull and see what it does to an Anaconda, because this is going to be interesting. Oh my gosh! Yeah! Okay, my shields are definitely taking damage from this, though. See, that's the only thing, is, like, being able to gimbal my lasers. I was also... Dude, lay off me for a second. I was also able to, like, fire while flying by and stuff, which I can't really do right now. Come on, dude, you're like at 10%. Just die already. Ooh, I got a blind spot here, apparently.
Under attack.
I'm gonna run into this guy. Yeah, there's a blind spot, like, right behind him. I wonder if I took out his engines.
Target destroyed.
So technically, we did not lose our shields, which is kind of cool. Okay, so this one kind of keeps the same vein in mind. This is kind of still more taking down Anacondas, trying to upgrade the Vulture to be the biggest, baddest version of itself. The reason I included this was one of the first... I think this was one of the first times I actually got to where I could use the Class 3 beams. I actually have to correct myself, because in the last clip I talked about it having the large hard points and that you could see it in that clip. Based on this one, I'm actually thinking I didn't have Class 3s at the time. This was the first time I was using Class 3 beam lasers. It's also possible that it was saying I upgraded from the pulse to the beams. I can't remember which way that went, if the pulses were not Class 3s or not. But the point was, this was the first time I got to use large beam lasers, and they did just cut through the shields and stuff. It wasn't as much as... I feel like I with the balancing the way that it was back then, I feel like it was a bigger deal based on what I was seeing, because I was watching it this time going, I mean, my beam lasers cut through more, that kind of thing. I know they're engineered and they're, so on and so forth, but I really think they balanced it differently, because back when this was done, I think they were more... shields and stuff were harder to take down and things, so that's why I was more impressed. And being that beam weapons didn't typically do as much damage to hull as kinetic weapons, it was very surprising how quickly the hull was being destroyed of a Conda that was not like an Eagle or something. So again, it was me getting used to the Vulture and its firepower kind of thing. Now, I will say it wasn't the best example, because I did apparently have to use fixed weapons at the time, which we all know I'm still not better at. I'm still no good at those. So it wasn't the best showcase of skill, but it was a pretty good example of firepower. I'm gonna do it. Sorry, Vulture. Love you to death. You've been a phenomenal good ship. Good little ship. Love you. Sorry. I gotta go with the Clipper, though. I'm dumping my money into this thing. Oh, man. What? Wow. This thing is roomy. Holy crap. We got ourselves a Clipper. Now, I'm thoroughly disappointed that the HUD is orange still, because all of the concept art showed it as blue, and I was super stoked. It's part of one of the biggest reasons that got me into the ship, out alone, just that it's a better ship and everything. Kind of one of those, like, window shopping. It's the thing that gets you in the door, was the HUD looked blue, and I was like, ooh, blue HUD, that's awesome. It is not here, however. There is a means, though, that I just never wanted to use, because I wanted to be authentic. Oh! Look at it! Oh, wait, what is it? Where are those hard points? Okay, the two are at the bottom. There's 2 utility, 2... It's so zoomed in, I can't... Alright. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna exit the security, or system services. We're gonna do debug cam, because I gotta figure out where these hard points are. Yes, I know. Derpy way to do it. Oh! Oh! It's a thing of beauty! It's so beautiful! I'm so excited. So, it looks like the hard points are in the wing modules there, on the right and the left, I guess, is where the large ones are located, which makes sense. Not entirely positive where the other utility mounts are. I think the medium hard points are down here on the undercarriage somewhere. And now we arrive at the Clipper. Again, love the aesthetic design of the ship, the white and the blue. Any kind of color palette that's either white and blue, gray and blue, black and blue, stuff like that, I always gravitate towards. So the white and blue idea behind most all of the Empire's ships is what kind of draws me towards the Imperial side of things. However, I will say, this was a big milestone for me, because ever since they announced the Clipper in the concept arts and all that, I had wanted Clipper. I was like, that's my goal. I don't even care about the Anaconda anymore. I want a Clipper. And I will say, once the newness wore off and I started really looking at it from a critical point of view, I was kind of disappointed with the Clipper as a combat ship. I never really used it for trading and all that too much. I've never really done much of that at all in Elite. But yeah, I was very surprised at how quickly the shields would get taken down and stuff. Now, firepower-wise, because it's a bigger ship and you have bigger hard points and things, it did pack a punch. But the loss of shields really quickly and stuff made it difficult to turn it into a combat ship, but I definitely had to include this. This was a big milestone for me in the series, because that was a huge goal for me, was to get a hold of a Clipper. Obviously, we've passed that now, but at the time, that was like one step up from, or one step below a Conda for me, basically. Outfit it off camera and then just go through and explain my logic and what I ended up doing. Cool! Yeah, we definitely upped the ship class here a little bit. Whew! She's party. I am curious, though, about that remark about little fighter ships, because I know from reading newsletters and stuff, eventually they intend to make ships that can be piloted by multiple players, have a co-pilot seat eventually. Like, that kind of stuff happens, you could be amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and work on outfitting at the hood. Before we do that, let's take a... So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and work on outfitting this bad boy. Actually, before we do that, let's take a peek under the hood. Or actually, at the hood, for more accurate term. Oof. She's so pretty. That's kind of awesome. Especially after I throw my paint job on it and paint it black. That'll be a very intimidating ship. I'm gonna be happy. And I love that they have the stairs. We're one step closer to the eventuality of being able to walk around and leave our ship. I can't wait. I definitely flew... Oh, there we go. Clipper. That's a good start. I definitely flew into somebody though. They weren't like actively shooting at me, I don't think.
Scan detected.
Oh yeah. Clipper, meet your scarier big brother. Alright, well, let's see how this goes. The only thing with this ship is going to be maneuverability. Maneuverability and speed are going to be a big problem. But in terms of firepower, I don't think we're going to have an issue at all. This is an awesome ship. Come here, buddy. I want to test my multi-cannons out. Oh, wait. I'm out of range. Come here. Oh, yeah. Alright, so this was actually part of a beta during, because it confused me for a minute. I was like, when did I get a cutter? Oh, right. So, during one of the betas for the upcoming patch, obviously, as you can see both in the clip and the screenshot there, that it was the 2.1 beta 6, they basically had given you free reign. You could, anything you did in the beta wouldn't affect your main game, blah, blah, blah. So we invested in the cutter because it was basically like the Clipper version of an Anaconda-sized ship. And it actually set me in a spot where I really wasn't sure if I ever wanted to get a ship that big in the end game. Of course, I'm still working towards it in the standard Let's Play, but it was kind of an interesting eye-opener because it was so massive that I cut the clip where it started getting, that was the cool wow factor had worn off, because there's a whole nother like 3 minutes of me where I could not get the Clipper in front of me again. It was behind me the whole time, and a Clipper's not that maneuverable really, so for it to just be able to stay behind me the whole time, I could not maneuver that thing. Now I will say this, from everybody that I've ever talked to that has bigger ships, Anacondas, Vets, cutters, etc. I don't know if I've been saying Clipper or not, but I meant cutter when I was talking about this ship. But the typical idea that I hear, now I don't know if these now would have hangars for fighters. They didn't at the time. But now that fighters are a thing, I don't know if they would include those or not. But at the time, one of the big things was typically a lot of people that outfit these ships, I've talked to anyway, usually use turrets instead of gimbaled weapons, because if something's behind you or something, it can still track and fire without you actually having to keep them in front of you because of the lack of maneuverability. And that was something that I either ignored or didn't know about at the time. Probably didn't know about. And so when it ever gets to a point where I get a cutter or a Corvette or a Anaconda, I'll probably look into doing more turreted weapons and only having a few fixed point or gimbaled or something to where I can use them on demand in front of me. But most of my weapons would probably end up being turreted, as it's probably going to negate the maneuverability the most. Plus, if they have hangars, that would be another useful thing. But it was fun to try out. It was fun to be able to just jump in and go crazy with it and try and see what all you could do with them. But yeah, that's one of those that it was a little bit different than I expected. I expected to kind of just fly in and destroy everything, and it was actually a lot harder to do the bounty hunting and stuff like that I was used to doing in a bigger, badder ship like that. Though I have heard, I don't know if it's accurate or not, I went with the cutter because of the Imperial aesthetic design and stuff like that. It was basically a big Clipper. It was designed fairly similar. But I've heard that the Vet was actually a better combat ship out of the three of them. So I don't know if that's true or not. That's probably a question that'll come up more by the time that I get closer to actually looking into buying one. You want to kind of fight and go this way. And then when it says you're charged, kind of basically get out of dodge is what I think they're doing. But like I said, not real familiar with this stuff, so I have no idea what I'm doing. We're just going to see if this works. And I'm sure it's one of those after a while, it won't be an issue. Okay, stop. Nope, go. No, this way. Okay, we're still pretty far away from it. So it probably isn't too terrible of a thing. Frameshift drive supercharged. Okay, now I want to kind of get out of it. Alright, so that's not too bad. That's not too bad. What did that do for us? Where does it say? Functions? 126 jump range, or 135 unladen, I think is the... Woo! Okay, so this one was a bit short, admittedly. I couldn't find a whole lot of footage on it. I was actually looking for the first time I ever tried this, and it was the first time, but it wasn't the first time I encountered a neutron star, and I think the first time would have been a bit more dramatic or comical, because if I remember correctly, I flew into it, and almost died. But this one was really funny to me because I was ridiculously nervous about trying this, and by the time I got to the center of the galaxy, I was actually very comfortable with neutron stars and doing neutron jumps and stuff like that. But this one was really cool because it was the first time I ever tried it, and I was like way out at the tail. And as soon as it pulled me in, I was trying to get out of it. I was super paranoid that it was going to break and all this. But it was an interesting way to spice up the very dull exploration period of the series where not a whole lot interesting was happening. And then they added these and it was like, ooh, something cool to play around with. And it did really blow me away the first time that I tried this and saw how much more of a jump range you could get from overcharging it through the neutron stars. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty big milestone type of thing during that period, was to try and to try and do that without blowing myself up.
Charging.
Well, let's go to the main attraction for today, right? So we're gonna stop talking about other games and we're gonna focus on this one because now we have something important to view. Sagittarius A star. I think A-star is a funny name, actually, because it's like, where are you going to A-star? Which star? A-star. Which one? A-star. You know, like, you can kind of have the whole who's on first kind of thing. Whoa! Alright, so that's kind of cool. I noticed... Oh, now that's weird. Is that its... Wait a minute. I call shenanigans. That tiny little ring is supposed to be the perimeter ring? Nuh-uh. You're telling me I can get that close to it before it's gonna, like, do something bad? It is kind of cool, though, that it's essentially kind of the same idea of the black holes, because we've seen black holes in... Whoa, that was weird. That was kind of weird. It stuttered for a second. We've seen black holes in the game before, finally. But this is, like, huge. And I noticed that, like, when you look at the actual category, it's a supermassive black hole. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself, that it's not like a regular size, it's gigantic. But I'm nervous about that thing right there. Like that ring. No, there it is. That's better. Okay, that's better. I don't know why there's two rings. Because if you'll notice, right when I started moving again... Let's see if I can get it to pull up again. We got the, there. That's the actual orbit line. Sagittarius A, or A-star, or Sagittarius A-star. I can never figure out how you're supposed to actually say that. This was a really cool... I feel it was slightly underwhelming, but it was a little cool. It was a pretty cool moment, though, because we'd actually reached the end of the exploration type of thing. The exploration arc of the series went on far longer than I wanted to, but by the time I felt it was starting to get kind of dull, I was already far enough into it that I didn't really want to backpedal without actually having achieved the goal basically to make it worth something. And it was really cool. It was really neat to do that. It's not something that you could do in real life, at least not at the time of this recording. If you're going back and it's like, 20, 30 years from now, why you're watching this video, no idea. But, you know, at the time of this, we couldn't get to anywhere close to the center of the galaxy, so it's a neat idea since they mapped, or tried to map it as accurate as possible. And they're trying to make even though it's sci-fi and stuff, they try to make it really realistic. So I was curious to see what kind of effect I would get, because it's kind of one of those black holes and things are really kind of interesting, because the idea that they trap all light and nothing ever gets out, theoretically, you really shouldn't see anything, because the light that should be bouncing off of it never comes back to your eye, so it should literally just be a black spot. At least that's my opinion on it. I don't know if there's science-y gurus out there that could correct me or not. Maybe this weird warped mirror kind of looking effect is more accurate, but I was curious to see what they did. I was interested to see how they did it. But mainly, the arrival at Sagittarius A was kind of like the mark of, okay, we're done with this, we can go back to playing it normally, sort of thing. So yeah, that was kind of a big step in the series of achieving, brought about the end of the exploration arc, if you will. So it was pretty interesting overall. It was a very unique type of endeavor type of thing. Like I said, it's not something that you could really do in most other games, or obviously not in real life or something. So it was kind of neat that thinking that you kind of went somewhere that we've never been, but actually does exist somewhere out in space kind of thing. It was a neat. It was simultaneously kind of a relief, like, yay, we're done with this, but it was also kind of a surreal idea kind of thing for me. It was kind of interesting that it's fun for the game and it's cool for a video series and stuff, but from a science standpoint, it was actually kind of interesting. Oh, I got a new contact. What do we get? What do we get? Python. He hasn't left yet. So, all of these people... Goldfish Rock. That's literally this character's name. Goldfish Rock. I don't know. It still doesn't take the crown from Hot Pants McGee. That's... I can't say that without laughing. Like, literally, try that. You should try it sometime. Try and say Hot Pants McGee with a straight face without even cracking a smile. I dare you. Because I can't really do it. I mean, I can if I'm actually, like, working at it, you know, thinking of something sad or something, but just in normal conversation, somebody just says, hey, look, it's Hot Pants McGee. I can't do it. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Is this... This might take the cake. This might take the crown, because the name is Hoof-Arted. I might have to make that a thumbnail. Look at the Hoof-Arted. And if you say it too fast, it's Hoof-Arted. Okay, yeah. Honestly, that's a better name. Hot Pants McGee is great, but Hoof-Arted... Oh, that's awesome. That is all kinds of awesome. Hoof-Arted. Oh, man. That makes me want to find some game where you can name your captain. I mean, I'm already kind of vested in my current one, but I want to... Captain Hoof-Arted. Oh, geez. That is so funny. I saw it. He's been in this area for a while. Like, he's not a new spawn. And so we arrive at Hoof-Arted. Like I said, there's a couple of these in this, because the names are so great. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of these names are randomly generated from a database, but you gotta know that the developers have a sense of humor to put some of these names in here. What's really funny is in one of these clips I was going through, you don't always realize what you don't see when you're recording things. I know a lot of people will criticize content creators and stuff for like, oh my gosh, you didn't see that thing that popped up right on the screen. But most of the time when you're playing a game, you're focused on something else, whether it be your crosshairs, what you're actually highlighting, not just something else on the screen. Now, grant you, there are a lot of times where I myself have watched YouTubers and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, it said it 4 times, so at a certain point it is kind of a ditzy moment on a video creator's part. But the funny thing about this is he had been in the area for a while. I had even scrolled over it a couple of times and just never picked up on it, of the like, I think I even said it earlier in the episode of like hoof or something. And it didn't register with me until I actually saw it at that point. But I even mentioned it in that part of like Hot Pants McGee and stuff, which still is really funny. That one still cracks me up, of Hot Pants McGee. But yeah, Hoof-Hearted was just, it was like, okay, some developer had a sense of humor. Now for this one, since there's feds around, but they're not really here, I may just... Oh my gosh! That took me a second. That's why I paused and stopped talking. I thought this said Chris Pratt. It says Chris Platt. Oh, that's awesome. That might end up being the title of the episode. I shot down Chris Platt. Because that's hilarious. Oliver King. Wow, we are getting some great names in here, by the way. They're all like parody names, but I'm fine with that. Because I'm fairly certain this is a spin-off of Oliver Queen. But Oliver King and Chris Platt. Oh, man. Alright, so here yet again we have actually a double whammy, because it was in the same episode, but we had Chris Platt and Oliver King. Where Hoof-Hearted and Hot Pants McGee and stuff were comical, the Robin Hood, Etho, Chris Platt, Oliver King, those were a bit more of like parody names, which was kind of funny. I don't know if it was on purpose or if it was just, oh no, that just happened to be, but to me it was very obvious that it looked like a parody on Chris Pratt and Oliver Queen. And I really found it comical, mostly that we got 2 of those kinds of names in the same episode. Usually they're few and far between. I don't get them very often. But to have both of those in the same episode was like, wow, we're on a roll today, kind of thing. So I get no end of amusement out of these names that they throw in there as just kind of like Easter egg type of things. So yeah, I think I thought those were pretty funny, especially from a parody, not quite accurate, but you can tell what we're implying sort of angle. Okay, so that's actually all, like, I considered this like a top 10 thing. They weren't in any particular order in terms of which ones I thought were the best moments, but they were basically in sequence. It was like from the beginning to the end towards the end of the series or whatever, which ones I thought were iconic moments or fun moments or something like that, but it wasn't necessarily like a top 10, so the Chris Platt Oliver King is like number 1 or something like that. However, I did have 2 that I was going to include until I realized they were both from the premium beta, but which is not technically part of this playlist of the Let's Play Elite Dangerous series, but they were still part of the game, and arguably to me they're my most probably cherished. I think to me they're the most nostalgic memories for me, so I figured if this was the top 10 list, then these 2 would be kind of an honorable mention. Wait a minute. You can't go to all these dots, can you? Economy extraction. I don't know what that means. A quiet, independent system with poor mineral and ore refinery capacity. With little extraction. I want to find one that has like ore, because I don't want to go into a dogfight right now. Alliance. No description. Wow, okay. Allegiance, none. Economy, none. Government, none. Population, 0. Okay. With little extraction activity. Wait. You're kidding. There's no way. No. There's no way all these little dots are flyable to... You're kidding! You've got to be kidding me right now. What about this one? Are you serious? No way. It wasn't lying. There's like hundreds of planets or stars or systems or whatever. The first time I opened the galaxy map. See, both of these two honorable mentions were from episode 1, which I had never touched the game before. I'd only seen a couple of trailer things and a couple of the Kickstarter promotion type things before I had jumped in. And so, again, this was a while ago now. I can't recall exactly the date, and I didn't look up how many years ago this was, but this was a good couple of years ago. And so where some people would say things like, oh yeah, well, Elite's not doing anything No Man's Sky isn't doing, or something like that. This was before No Man's Sky even came out, to the best of my knowledge. So as far as I can tell, this was the first time in recent memory that you had this big sprawling map that wasn't just 10, 15 planets, but it was these just hundreds and hundreds of, or if not hundreds of thousands of systems that include planets and stuff within them. Actually, like I said, in the whole video of that episode, I think that I had read something there where it was closer to billions. And I didn't believe it at first. I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of those where, like, you know, like Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic and some of those other ones where it's like, there's this vast galaxy and there's really, like, you know, 5 to 10 planets or something like that. And no, this really sold it on... Obviously, during the premium beta, you didn't have access to all of them. You were in the bubble and then eventually the pill. But... when it went full release and like everything opened up and it wasn't in beta anymore, it was like, holy crap, every single dot on this map you can go to, that's insanity. And when you compare it to games like No Man's Sky and Star Citizen and a lot of these where they're like all kind of doing the same thing, it gets less wowy kind of thing. It gets less impressive. But the thing I liked about this particular video was it captured the moment of the first time that this had happened, or the first time it was a real thing to me. So even if I go look at the Galaxy Map now, it's nowhere near as awe-inspiring as it was then, which it always brings a smile, like, the young commander who had no idea what kind of vast galaxy was out there at the time. You know, it kind of just always brings back nostalgia.
Charging.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do this. I hope I have the right thing set, because otherwise we're gonna die. I'm kind of planning on dying, actually, like we're gonna die.
Ready to engage.
Align with where's the destination target? Oh, so you gotta get like lined up because it's... Oh gosh, we're gonna die if I have to line up. Okay. Throttle. Wait. Okay. Throttle up to engage. We're gonna die. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Wait, it's not a loading screen? Are you serious? You get to actually do it? Can I look? Oh, I can look around. This is my new favorite game of all time. Oh my gosh, we're gonna die. What's it critical? And like I said, these last two were honorable mentions because they were part of the premium beta and not the actual Let's Play playlist where we've reached episode 200 of. However, this to me is probably always going to be my favorite moment. Not only had I realized that the galaxy and stuff was so vast, but then it was immersive because you didn't have a loading screen. It like kept you in the game the whole time. It was really, really was a step forward in gaming to me. Is kind of like, this is where are going. You know, you're doing immersive stuff. There's not as much loading screen. There's not as much text stuff. It's more visual. There's less invisible walls. It's more, if you can see it, you can get there. So it was kind of a pinnacle moment of, this is no longer like a concept idea, but this was something that actually got implemented into the game, kind of thing. So yeah, I couldn't help but smile at the younger me that was like, oh my gosh, I can look around while I'm going through hyperspace. And now, after doing all the exploring stuff, hyperspace is no big deal. You know, making a jump, it's like, whatever. And when you go back and look at what it was like when you first did it, kind of thing, it really captures that you can't ever have the first moment. You know, the first time the doors open and you get to walk into the room, kind of thing, and you're like, wow, you know, you can't really capture that lightning in a bottle again. So I still think that that's probably the most nostalgic moment for me, and it'll probably always remain as my favorite Elite Dangerous moment, regardless of where it goes from there, or where the game development goes, or where the series on my channel goes, you know, regardless of where it ends up, that'll always be my favorite moment. So, but with that, that's going to be my top nostalgia picks, trip down memory lane type thing. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know it was very different from my typical episodes, and we didn't really do anything in game. But yeah, it's one of those that you guys who have watched all of these episodes as I made them, kind of thing, have experienced them in the same way and in the same time frames, and it's been years for you guys too, unless you jumped in recently and just binge watched them all, which in that case, thank you, that's cool. But you know, for those of you that were there from the beginning, especially when I started doing my premium beta playthroughs and stuff like that, I'm sure it brings back like, oh yeah, that was when we only had a Viper, you know, stuff like that. It was actually very nostalgic for me, going back and finding the clips and watching the parts and skimming through different episodes. It was like, holy crap, I forgot I did all that kind of stuff. And very, very interesting on a psychology level too, to see how my perspective on the game changed as I played through it longer, and have played through it for a long time, to where what things are awe-inspiring, what things what flaws did you overlook because it was too cool to have any issues at the time, and now you kind of see the blemishes, type of thing. Little things like that. But yeah, so that's, I think, gonna do it for this episode. Next time we'll more than likely end up just going back to our normal type of episodes. I thought about trying to hop a ride on that mega ship that was leaving for some closed off area of space. It was another suggestion I got from the comments. However, due to scheduling and recording and stuff, I didn't really have time to actually make my way over there in game and get on board it. So I think the ship has sailed, literally. So I'm pretty sure we're just going to end up back at the back where we left off in the next episode. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me for a bit of a change of the norm. I hope you guys enjoyed it, though. I had fun going back through and kind of having the nostalgia moment of the remember when trip through memory lane kind of thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Hope y'all enjoyed episode 200 of the Elite Dangerous series. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.